It's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Thursday, December 8th. So, of course, if you live in an area where the full moon just peaked in the early hours of Thursday and not in the late hours of Wednesday, you're very much struggling through the new energy being brought in by reaching this boiling point in this Gemini energy that has us very divided in our headspace, in our heart space. I would be absolutely shocked if you had a good sleep. If you did have a good sleep, I would say you're very lucky to have some individual placements in your birth chart in order to override this very, very high potent energy coming in from the full moon. Of course, we reach that full moon direct peak energy. That's the boiling point. That's the explosion point. And then the energy starts to dissipate. Yes, we're in this full moon energy for 3 days prior to, 3 days post the actual moon event. But as far as reaching that peak energy, we have that kind of, I'm going to say, release. And then we start coming down off of that energy. So the moon is going to be in Gemini all day. We're still very much trying to figure everything out. We're kind of adding a layer of intensity on the energy here today because this is Venus's last day in Sagittarius. She will be preparing to move into Capricorn energy very late Friday evening. And because of that, she's in the final degrees of Sag. We always have an intensity at the final degrees of any sign because we're supposed to be wrapping up the life lessons. If you need a refresher on what Venus being in Sag was supposed to teach you, go ahead, listen to the energy forecast that I put out for that. And kind of get yourself up to speed. We are going to feel a very dramatic shift after Venus moves out of this fire energy and moves into the earth energy of Capricorn. But here today, between the full moon energy, between Venus ramping up and reaching her most potent energy in the final degrees of Sag, you best believe there's going to be a lot of craziness, a lot of chaos in our inner realms. There's likely still a boatload of information shocking us from our external realms as well. We have a lot to process. So there are 9 different aspects here today. 6 of them involve the moon. The sun in Sag is going to sit across from and directly oppose Mars, who, as you know, is retrograde in Gemini energy, had a very pivotal part in this full moon event. And the sun is a fire energy. Sitting in Sag energy is fire on fire, and Mars is a fire energy, except he is retrograde. So this energy is internalized and he's in Gemini energy, which means that there's more fire in the mental plane, in the headspace, in the crown than there is in the physical body. This is a lot of energy and attention being put onto the mental plane. We are on the battlefield of the mental processing. At this particular point, we have a lot on the go. We have new things coming in, and we have a lot that we are deleting and overriding as far as our inner dialogue and our plans and, of course, our thoughts and our feelings. So having the sun kind of shine a bright light on where it is that we are sitting across the table from Mars, you best believe that this can go one of 2 ways. It can either inspire us, motivate us, really activate new dreams, new desires, new passions for us to process and think about and strategize and plan for, or it can push us over the edge. It can trigger a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, even a little bit of rage. Why? Well, because we have a lot of information coming at us that isn't going to sit so well. It's hot, it's spicy. We have to get over it before we can move on to another year. And we're also a little bit, I'm going to say, ticked off that we can't make moves. We just have to sit around and think about them right now. So, there's a lot of truth coming in, a lot of information shifting our perspective, our perceptions, our understandings, and not being able to take action on them is just a frustrating energy for us to sit in. Now, the moon is going to trine, which is a beautiful energy, with Saturn, who is in Aquarius energy. So we get this trine because the moon is in Gemini, in air energy, and Saturn is in Aquarius, in air energy. So, the air energies, these elements get along very well. What we're doing is we're merging the emotions, the motivations, our intuition, our heart space with Saturn's energy, which is karma, which is roles and responsibilities, which is new systems, new structures, new routines, new foundation. Now, keep in mind, the wheels in our heads are just a spinning. We have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of thoughts. We're trying to make plans. And Saturn's goal here is to make us come back down to earth, make us be a little bit more stable in our thought process, be able to focus and concentrate on recognizing what it is that we have to build in order to bridge the gap from where it is that we're at to where it is that we desire to be. So yeah, it can feel a little bit heavy. It can feel a little bit weighted on trying to complete a thought, trying to come up with a plan, trying to think very long-term and strategic on how it is that we are going to focus our time, our energy, our resources, our efforts in building a new foundation for ourselves to actually live upon and build upon. The moon interacts with Pluto in a positive way, thankfully. This is a huge, huge shift in our mental plane, in our heart space. What are we shifting to? Well, likely one path, one direction, one choice, one decision over the other. Again, that's what this Gemini energy is all about. Seeing the extremes in our choices, in our decisions, in our path, seeing the dualistic nature, the polarization of our heart, of our head space, the pros and cons of it all. Now, Pluto comes in. He is the great transformer. He's bossing us up. He's pushing us into our power, recognizing where it is that we have to have control over our thoughts, our inner narrative, and what it is that we're actually going to do with our lives. So now this is like an empowerment energy, if you will. We are leaning more into one direction over the other. And again, the wheels are just a spinning, just a turning on how it is that we are going to bring something new to life. Venus goes ahead, bumps into the true node, which doesn't feel very good. It's a very awkward interaction. Venus, of course, is nearing the very final degrees of Sag. So there's this extra push on her to define what it is that she wants to do, what her new truth is, what her new values are, who she wants to take with her, what brings her a sense of peace and happiness and joy. And because this is an awkward interaction with the true node, our soul's path, our destiny point, it would be very, very assuming that something in our external realms is happening, especially where relationships are concerned, is taking place to make us question the path that we thought we were going to walk and moving forward, the plans that we had for certain individuals as we were kind of, building this fantasy realm, this dream, this vision that we are looking to manifest. Now, things need to happen in our external realm that don't feel good in order for us to gain a lot of perspective on, some of the people that maybe we weren't seeing for who it is that they are. Maybe we were seeing them in a vision in a way that we hoped that they would be. Well, we're still in this full moon energy. There are aha moments. There is new information. There is constant details being unearthed and emerging in order for us to see the very full, bright picture under this full moon. And it is likely that we are being illuminated to information and details that is going to have a huge impact on the way that we feel about certain people in our lives. Now, the moon is going to go ahead and square Neptune, get in the boxing ring with Neptune. What is the deal here? Well, first of all, we have to remember that the Gemini energy is very, very rooted in the ego self. The Neptune energy is very connected to the higher self, the spiritual self, the energetic self. What we got going on here is a disconnect from being able to align with our intuitions, from being able to really kind of capture a dream and a vision that is going to inspire us enough to boss us up and make us bold and brave and courageous enough to make the moves and to complete the transformation that is needed, because the moon in Gemini is over here trying to process the details of the here and now. We're very, very stuck in the here and now based off of the data, the information, the statistics of the here and now, instead of dreaming or creating a space where the magic of the universe and the cosmos and the possibilities that could happen outside of the realm of our current circumstances, we've pretty much closed the door on that. It's not a good look, not a good vibe. We're really struggling with it because the Gemini energy wants to just kind of tackle what is real, what is in front of us, what is the here and now, where the Neptune energy wants us to abandon all of that and think about the possibilities that we could conjure up if we could manifest a dream and a vision that actually triggered something in us that would make us motivated and inspired enough to do what we had to do to align with that vision and dream instead of settling for the circumstances that we currently have taking place in our here and now. The moon goes ahead, makes a positive interaction to Chiron, the wounded healer. This is a good jam, a good vibe for us. It means that we have kind of sat with ourselves. We have acknowledged the darker parts, acknowledged the pain, acknowledged the struggle, acknowledged the discontentment, that the dissatisfaction for some of the circumstances going on in our lives. We've taken a good look at what it is that we don't like. And that is the first step of bringing stuff into our awareness. The second step is to try and come up with some solutions on how it is that we're going to resolve some of these issues. And that's what Chiron is helping us to do, because he is the healer, right? Yes, he bears the wounds, but he is the healer that has the wisdom, the knowledge, the resources in order to heal said wounds. And the first thing that we need to do is bring some of the problems, the wounds, into our awareness. This is what we're doing here. This is what we're examining. We are moving through the painful process. We are growing. We are healing. We are evolving. We are improving. And a lot of this is done on the inner realm because of the moon, of course, being our heart space in Gemini energy, which, of course, is the head space. So we're trying to get an alignment there, and we're making a lot of progress. The moon is going to bump into Pluto, though, in a way that would suggest that something's coming at us in our exterior realm that we don't have control over, that's really going to tick us off, really going to push us into our shadow selves, really going to make us feel like we're not in control, like we don't have power, like we don't have a say. Now, this is a good test, okay? Keep in mind, we're still in the full moon energy. This is a good test to see how much power we actually have over our inner dialogue, our mental narrative. Because, let me tell you, we're moving into a particular life lesson that is going to be a very extended life lesson on our inner selves, how strong our inner realm is in order for us to be able to weather the storm going on outside of us, whether or not we're being swayed by that. This is a good indication of that. Something's going to happen in our external realm to trigger us, to activate us. And we may spiral, and we may take on a negative narrative, and we may start ripping ourselves apart and sucking the life out of our dreams. We may do all that. But we have to catch ourselves and bring it to our awareness that, guess what? I'm not going to let myself hit the bottom of this pit before I realize that I got to dig myself out of it. I'm going to catch myself as I'm telling myself these horrible things, and I'm going to have control over my narrative, and I'm going to spin it in a positive light. And I'm going to take the pain, and I'm going to turn it into power. And I'm going to take the darkness, and I'm going to show it the light. And this is how we alchemize. This is how we transform. Mars is going to make an interaction with Uranus in such a way that would suggest that we are just going to feel the passion / anger. Let me remind you, the line between passion and anger is very thin, very interpretive. We have Mars, who is retrograde in Gemini, a little bit frustrated that we can't really take action out in the world, that we have to sit with it and contemplate it and debate it on the mental plane. And Uranian energy, of course, is trying to shock us, trying to disrupt us, trying to show us where it is that we've become too stuck, too fixated, too comfortable in our uncomfortability, and where it is that we're essentially blocking ourselves from moving forward. Now, let me just say, this is going to trigger a lot of aggression, a lot of passion, a lot of desire, a lot of anger. Why? Because it's showing us where it is that we don't feel like we're in control. Why is that important? Because we have to see what it is that we have given our power away to make us feel like we don't have control in order for us to realize where it is that we have to take it back. Now, Uranian energy shocks the central nervous system. Mars energy gets our blood boiling. Now, that blood can boil in a positive, motivated, determined, inspired way, or it can boil because we're frustrated, we're angry, we have a little bit of rage. Keep in mind, we're in the full moon energy. Everything is coming to the surface. Pay attention to the not so nice energies, thoughts, emotions, because those are the key indicator on what it is that we have to focus on and change first and foremost. The last thing we got going on here today is the moon semi-squaring, which is a little bit of a tension point with the true node. The true node is trying to get us on the right path. the path of a new mission, the path of a new purpose, the path that we can really push the potential of our soul's evolvement. But of course, the moon is in Gemini. We're divided between our heart and our head, between our ego, our intuition, between what feels right and what feels wrong, between what it is that we want to do versus what it is that we think we should do. And of course, our goal is to explore those extremes and to find ourselves in a comfortable middle ground. Are we going to find that here today? Probably not, because the moon semi-squaring the true node means that we are questioning the plans that we had for ourselves. We are questioning the growth that we thought we did because, again, we just had some situations pop off, and my guess is that we didn't handle them correctly. And now we're sitting in it and we're saying, oh, damn, I really failed that test. I really could have done better. Should have handled that in a different way. Should have expressed myself in a different way. Should have spoke on that in a different way. We're really questioning things. And now we're figuring out how to clean up the mess. Again, if you listened to the astro forecast or downloaded the moon guide for this full moon, you would know that we have to create a bigger mess emotionally in order for us to realize where it is that we have to start cleaning things up. This is a prime example for that. Emotionally speaking, we're not feeling good about where it is that we're at. Emotionally and mentally speaking, we're not feeling good about the plans, the strategy that we have to actually progress, improve, and grow and move into our futuristic path with new soul contracts, new karmic lessons. We're not feeling so good about it. We're letting that not so nice narrative really have control over us. And this is what is going to be the main focus, the main lesson here today, is how much control do you have over your thoughts, over your inner narrative?